Hello and welcome to the Zeldathon show. How is everyone doing? I'm Klinkit.
Hi, Bassoonify here, right next to Klinkit.
And we got some special guests. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
That's us.
That's us.
That's
we're,
us.
We're the special guests.
That's us. Here we are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doug, or DrumUltimA. I don't know what it says on this. I can't read it. It says anything. Who are you?
I think I'm just Laura.
Okay.
And I'm Slam Bob.
Yeah, you sure are.
You guys suddenly got a lot louder.
We're fixing the audio real fast.
I was like,
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
we
Hi,
have
everyone.
we have a special little Zeldathon plan for you guys today. We decided to bring some musical guests, and with it being quarantine and all, we thought, hey, so if we can take advantage of multiple people in the same area, it's how you cheat the system.
I mean, I'm kind of stuck with you no matter what, so...
Yeah.
And you three are always together anyway.
Yeah.
we can't escape.
we couldn't find alone time if we tried.
The joyous laughter of coming to terms with your own situations.
Yeah. We have fun.
So, for those, who might be new or maybe only watched Zeldathon Forces and haven't watched any marathon before that,
Sigma Beta.
how about you each, take a minute to introduce yourselves, how you got into Zeldathon, what you kind of...
Maybe one at a time. Let's
one
not
at a
leave
time.
it so open.
So we'll start with Doug. How'd you get into Zeldathon? And, we'll just
Doug,
go with
how did you get into Zeldathon? What happened?
Great question. Well, the audition was pretty rigorous. I remember it was a huge rep list, and so I don't really know how I got into Zeldathon.
Does
I think
anyone?
My earliest memories of quote unquote getting into Zeldathon was when I at Magfest had a Twitter notification that Super MC Gamer had followed me, and I was like, well, is he the Zeldathon guy? And then coincidentally a day later, I had to be up at 7 in the morning for the Aria Kart rehearsal or whatever.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is not my element at all. I mean, we're at Magfest. I probably stayed up till 4 in the morning the night before, And so I'm trudging out of bed. I'm walking down the hallway and I just see MC just sitting outside of a panel room all by himself. And I was like, oh, hey, you're MC. Hi, I'm DrumUltimA. You followed me? He's like, oh, hi. I don't remember the conversation much outside of that because it was 7 in the morning and I couldn't think. But yeah, that was my first time meeting MC. And then I don't know, a Zeldathon later or so, 6 months, a year later, I popped up in chat and popped in chat just watching. I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, it's Doug Perry. Yeah, we got to get you on the show sometime. I was like, oh. Okay, cool. And then the next thing I knew, he asked me to come play some percussion at Zeldathon, and then there I was. So that was how I got involved. I guess to go back a step in that introduction, I am a percussionist. So you see this room that we're in. We're in my half of our shared studio space right now. These are all my percussion instruments, and I play video game music, both in and outside of games, which means that I do a lot of arranging of video game music and make videos and fun covers and stuff like that. But I also occasionally play for video game soundtracks as well. So that's what I do, and that's how I got involved in Zeldathon and stuff like that. And I'm very happy to be here, and I love everyone at Zeldathon, especially you guys. Next.
No. I gotta say, when when you showed up, Doug, to Zeldathon, I'm so bad at visually not recognizing things that I see on TV and associating it with physical objects. When you walked up to me, because I don't know if we talked very much before your first Zeldathon, because we talked a lot online, but I don't know if we talked much face to face. And you showed up and walked up to our little talking circle, and I was kind of in my head, who are you?
All right, Laura, tell us about yourself and how you got into Zeldathon.
Okay. I am LauraIntravia. I also work as a professional recording artist for video games and TV/film scores, but mostly video games. And I'm probably most well known for my work as a concert soloist for a couple different video game concerts. I used to tour with Video Games Live, and I was a guest vocalist for Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions a couple of times. And I am a proud member of the video game music fusion band Discocactus, and that's probably a good segue into how I got involved with Zeldathon. I think Doug had a couple of, Zeldathon gym passes, like a 3-day entry for other people to join the club before, you have to give them your ID when you walk in, and they fill out all the forms for you, and then you have to decide if you want to join Zeldathon.
Part of a special promotional thing.
And I think Doug just he had such a great time at the first Zeldathon he went to, and he thought it would be fun to have, because they have such a huge musical presence there, he thought it would be fun to get the whole Discocactus crew together to do some fun stuff, and so I went for the first time in the last summer one, which was 2019. Yep. And I wasn't there the whole time. I think we were there for like 5 days, but it was a total blast. It was just so cool seeing like all of these volunteers come together and put the whole show together. So that's how I got involved.
So as part of like today, during this talk show thingy, we've prepared a couple of clips maybe from the past, presents from far pasts, and we're just going to kind of throw them in as they become relevant instead of trying to force them into there. You mentioned, Laura, Video Games Live, and I think it's kind of interesting. I bet a bunch of people might have actually seen Laura quite a while ago, maybe searching on those internets, searching on those YouTubes without even realizing who she was. So we have this clip over here back from, is this where the starting time?
Yeah.
All right, cool. How do you do the
bit.
clip? Oh, yeah, that's a fine place to do it, I guess. Oh, wait, let me start with the starting time that I had. One second. Oh, no. Okay. We gotta press the button. Okay, now they can see it. All right.
I didn't mind making each one, but yeah, there was one time we went on a. Oh wait.
Actually, you should tell that story.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell the story.
You already.
So I hadn't done that flute link sketch in quite a long time. Like we eventually did phase it out of the show, and I forgot that I had to make a little Navi for the coat hanger, apparatus for every show, because it always ends with me throwing her on the ground and kicking her off the stage. And it was really cute because sometimes people would bring it to the meet and greet to return it to me. It's like, hey, I brought this back. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted it. I was like, no, you can have it. And other people would be like, can you sign it? And I'd sign one of the wings or whatever.
That's so cute.
And they'd keep it at home. There was one time we were on a tour that was 16 shows, and I had to put another box inside my suitcase with the assembled Navis, all in a row, and I would just grab one each night, put it on the thing, and slowly deplete my Navis.
It's like the VGM equivalent of breaking your guitar or drumsticks on stage and throwing it into the audience.
And having a whole suitcase full of guitars.
Bruno thought you were a boy.
Oh, shoot! Bruno, you know what's funny? I didn't mention this, but I also do a little bit of, opera singing, usually for small opera companies. I'm quite small fry. I'm not singing at the Met or anything like that. But I usually play boy characters for that reason.
When I did theater, I was always the boy characters, too, so I can relate to that.
Well, same question for Sam.
Yeah, tell us about yourself and how you got into Zeldathon.
Sure. So I'm Sam. My real name is not Slam Bob. I'm sorry to tell everybody.
Oh, man.
I'm a bass player, both an upright classical player and an electric bass player. I play with the video game music fusion band Discocactus.
Zoom.
And I'm a freelancer. I also have done work on video game soundtracks, both in music and sound effects. Weirdly enough, but I met Super MC Gamer through Doug, but when I contacted him and said, "Hey, I want to be a part of Zeldathon," and he said to me, "Okay, listen, there's going to be an audition. It's either going to be a musical test or a physical test." And me being a professional musician, I figured I should go with the physical test. It was about 48 hours of just like jogging and jumping hurdles, like literally jumping hurdles and mud runs. And,
yeah, that's the part you don't really hear people talking about much. Usually we kind of wipe it from our memories, but you're very brave to speak up on this.
Especially because the music test is pretty much just like play a couple major scales and like a harmonic minor scale, and that's it.
A circle of fifths of Song of Storms, all 12 keys, you know, the basics.
I thought you were going to say the musical test is the same thing.
But actually, but seriously, back in 2018, I had just started watching MC Gamer and Zeldathon, and my twin brother Peter Bob in the chat and we were making a massive collaborative album of music from Majora's Mask for the Materia Collective label, the Materia Collective community label, which is called Fate, and it's available on Bandcamp right now.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
one.
amazing.
And when we were producing that, we got to like the marketing stage. We were thinking of people to reach out to like help spread the word about our album, and Super MC Gamer came up, and he was like our first choice, and we had a couple other choices, and it's funny, we didn't hear from anybody else except for MC, who right away was like, "Yeah, I'm interested. What do you let's talk. What do you want to talk about?" And we were like, "We were wondering if you could do a listening party of the album on your stream." And he was just like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." I was like, "Wow, cool." And then, so we got talking to him that way, and he had a great listening party. It was super fun. The album is like 5 hours long, or like 4 hours long, so like he didn't get through all of it.
He was sick too. He was like powering through a sore throat.
Yeah, he got through a lot of it. So
yeah,
that was really nice. And it was great. And we kind of just kept the rapport for a while. We later, it was either later that year or the next year, we played at Pokethon and got talking to him. And I can't remember, Pete, you might have to freshen my memory here. Refresh my memory here. I can't remember if it was when we were invited or right before we were invited. MC commissioned Pete and I, more specifically Pete, to write the music for the latest Zeldathon
that was
video.
Yeah, it was Forces,
that was
right?
Forces.
Yeah.
That was in
the documentary.
Back in December. January? Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh wait, no.
No, it was, I think,
the intro video. The intro video, yeah.
The intro video, yes. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, it was right before we got invited. And that was also super fun and great to work with him on that. So that's how I got involved in Zeldathon, and then I was at Zeldathon, what was that, Heels?
Yeah, I think it was Zeldathon
Who's
Heels.
got the bottle? Zeldathon Heels. Yeah, I was there for that one.
Cheers.
That's a good one to be at. Thinking back on it, like Heels is like definitely like one of my favorite overall. Just so many great memories from that marathon.
Especially musically, it was definitely a standout marathon.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about Discocactus, and I know that there is a little bit of overlap of people that come for Super MC Gamer, people that are familiar with Zeldathon, and people that, but a lot of those people, they might not be completely familiar with Discocactus.
Right.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about that, but I think I have a clip,
We have a little clip
that sums up Discocactus pretty well in a minute or so. It's very difficult to do.
I'm curious.
Press the button.
Is it ready?
Oh yeah, I guess I'll
You
press
didn't get
ready.
it ready.
We're working out our.
I was like, you didn't.
I say first I will click. I will make sure it's muted. Okay.
Gotta pause it.
Gotta pause it, and then you get ready.
You ready?
Yeah. We're working on this production team.
We're ready.
Now there comes a time when you wait a meal quick, but you want a snack with the spicy kick.
Yeah, that's
Bacon in the
definitely.
oven or the microwave.
Yeah.
Think of all the time you say pizza. P-I-C-Z-A. I'm getting pizza. Are you ready to play? Give me chicken, yeah, nothing big.
Are you still here?
Right on top of the pizza. Nothing you need, all we need for a life.
I got it.
Come on, it's
Everyone.
Did I happen to say?
There you go. We don't have to fade out.
Oh man. God, that was fun.
That whole concert was a fantastic blasty blast.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
what
that's
is
not just like one of my favorite concert moments, but maybe just one of my favorite like Magfest performing moments of my entire career in general ever.
I was gonna say
doing
maybe
that.
of my like life.
Yeah, yeah.
That show was like, we like leveled up. I felt like I leveled up that
Oh,
day.
yeah.
so like Discocactus is a, what do you say, classically informed, right? Video game. I like, that's the way to do it, because it's just like,
Classically informed.
and classically informed. Isn't that what you said before?
I like that.
Okay, I think I guess there's an explanation that's needed. At this point, I think our bio should just be the quote that we got from David Hayter, who is the voice of Solid Snake, that Pete commissioned
A
through like cameo
Yeah.
for like, what was it? It was for like Christmas
It
or
was
something.
Christmas, yeah.
There's a quote of Solid Snake going, "Discocactus, you're pretty good." And so like that's what I want that to just be our bio for now on. It's just we're pretty
To
good
all
according
the
to Solid
rock
Snake.
gods at Discocactus.
But okay, I guess I should explain like the backstory here, because Discocactus had like a pretty weird sort of spindly formation. It first started. Actually, when it first started, neither of these two were involved. The original members of the group are myself, Ben, and Mateus, and that spun out of an ensemble that we had kind of put together when we were all in grad school.
We all in grad school together?
We all did our masters in music at Yale back in like 2012 to 14-ish, and while we were there, we were all studying classical music, but like we really wanted to do other stuff, and so we put together this other group that was like kind of like playing like all sorts of stuff. We would do like pop tunes. Maybe we'd do some jazz as well. Like we did a lot of like EDM. There was one point where we were trying to like transcribe a Deadmau5 song or something. Like we were doing all sorts of weird stuff, and we put together these shows to try to try to like actually perform it. And video game music eventually became a part of the process. Like there was a point where like naturally with like me and Ben and Mateus especially involved, we wanted to do that stuff. And this is also around the time that we were all getting to know each other for the first time and discovering like, oh, there are other musicians that want to play video game music. So, so that group kind of formed, and there was one year while we were in school that I had been going to Magfest for many years by this point, and I really wanted to bring some of my friends to Magfest, just because I thought it was so great. So, I think it was Ben and Mateus. It was a different bass player named Sam, which is a little confusing. Who I also still play with.
And even more confusing is his name is also Slam Bob.
And he has a twin.
Yeah. No. He so like I brought all these guys to Magfest where we met up with Will Roget, who you saw in that video as well. Will Roget is a video game composer who did like Mortal Kombat 11 and Call of Duty World War II. He did some music for Guild Wars 2. I mean, he's got a great career.
The Old
but he's also
Republic.
Yeah, he's a big boy, but he's got a. I mean, he's also a huge video game music fan as well, and he's a great hang and loves to play. And so we were like hanging out at Magfest, and at that time I was like, man, I want to play at Magfest, but I've never gotten to play at Magfest. So you know what? We're just gonna do it. I'm just gonna set up. We're just gonna set up in the hallway. And we're just gonna play. And so we did that. We just like brought our instruments out into the hallway and just set up somewhere and started jamming. And like eventually we kind of gathered a big crowd, and I saw a Magfest staffer come over, like waiting for us to finish. And I was like, oh man, he's gonna kick us out. All right. He's like, hey guys, just had to come over here to say, do you need anything? Like water? Anybody need water? You guys doing okay? And I was like, what? Yeah.
Some people have to like hire roadies or backstage people. You guys just naturally attract them.
Yeah. So like eventually Nick Marinelli, who was at the time he was the CEO, I guess, of Magfest, came over with like a bunch of those like mag tokens. He was like, I just want to say this is like what we're all about here, and we wanted to thank you guys for doing this.
That's awesome.
From that point forward, we had jam pods at Magfest. But anyway,
Wait, you're the founder of Jam Pods?
I think so.
Doug, the original Jam Pod
Yeah.
Harry.
I've been going to Magfest. Look, you can't see the back. Maybe you can. I've got all these badges up here. These are all my Magfest badges. I've been going for a long time. They were not jam pods before that year. I am sure of that.
However, they also decided where the jam pods would be, and it was definitely not where you were jamming.
It was one of the spots we were jamming.
Oh, okay.
It's still a jam pod. One of the spots. We did 2 different spots. But
Is it safe to consume a jam pod?
yeah, I think they were talking about like possibly injecting. Anyway, so
You said it, not me. I can't yell at me for that.
So anyway, people kept asking who we were at Magfest, and I didn't really know what to say because this was just me and my friends playing music, and my brain kind of went to this expression marking that Ben, our keyboard player, had put in one of our scores and some of our sheet music, which was based on like a set of Facebook stickers, which are cactuses, which are cacti, and one of them is like just going, "Ha!" and like he took that one, he thought of that one specifically and wrote it into like a piece that he arranged, and just wrote like Discocactus in the thing because it looked like it was like a cactus. It was in a disco style, and he was thinking about that cactus doing that face. So I was just like, I had that galaxy brain moment of Discocactus. That's what we're called, and that was how we became Discocactus. So after that, like we decided that we should try to keep doing it more. We started putting together more arrangements. I started working a little harder to try to like get us to play places. One of the first times we ever got asked to go to Magfest, that other bass player Sam, who had gone to Magfest with me, that's not this one, couldn't do it, and honestly couldn't really do them anymore because he had gotten super busy. And I had known this other Sam from school who plays bass, and I was like, well, if I can't have that Sam, I should get a different one. And
You didn't even ask me what instrument I played beforehand.
But yeah, Sam was like, yeah, I can do it, and then so he started playing with us, and then we played at Magfest 2016, and it was like,
Mag Classic first, actually.
Mag Classic first, yep. And then, so we did Mag Classic, then we did the next Magfest, and Pete came because we needed somebody to run visuals, and we needed somebody who could use a computer, and like
that was originally going to be me too.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and so Pete, you volunteered Pete, and then Pete was willing to like put on a horse mask and take his shirt off and run around during the Undertale segment. So at that point, it was like, yeah, it was like, okay, Pete's in, and then like I think Laura, you were the last one to join because you just came up to me at Magfest one year, and you were just like, "Can I be in Discocactus?" And I said, "Yeah."
That's all it takes.
That's literally what happened.
It was my favorite because I had that was the year that they did the Journey Live thing for the first time. So I was like on the and that's when they had the 2 stages. So you guys were setting up on that stage, and I was on that one. So we all watched each other perform that year, and I like went up to my room to get changed, and I came back down, and I just thought the Discocactus set was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And I got back down just in time for the Undertale arrangement, and I hadn't played Undertale at that point, so I was just like, what's the guy with the horse mask? He's dancing around! Like, I couldn't wrap my head around what was going on, but I just loved it so much.
Yeah. So the whole classically informed funk thing, I guess that's like basically what that comes down to is like, once again, all of us in the band have some level of like formal classical music education. And we take a lot of that into our process. So like when we do our arrangements, we actually think a lot about like some of the classical pieces that we know and play and like how those are written and like try to incorporate those elements of form into the music while still writing in idioms that we find fun, you know? So like jazz idioms, funk idioms, rock, goofy, funny, and more on that later.
And we keep like exploring like genres that like we might not even necessarily be familiar with, and it's just a really great sandbox. Like I did a metal arrangement for the first time, it was for the Delta Rune thing, and I was like, by the time I got to the end, I was like, this is like a metal thing. I've never like tried to do something like this before. This is fun.
You know, when you're talking about the way that like your approach to composition and everything. I've only been to y'all's house a few times, but like I could really see where it takes place, like in the living room, just playing games with you guys. You'd be like singing just some random song, but then you'd start Discocactusing it. Like you'd be like doing something, some motive would just keep repeating and repeating, and then turn into something else, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is where it comes into place. I gotta say,
You're witnessing it.
yeah. So when they say like DC Alfine, it's like Discocactus. So no,
I like that. I never thought of that.
that's actually kind of helped me a little bit in some arranging too, because it's just like, wow, I'm kind of stuck. What can I do with this song that keeps repeating to make it more interesting? And I'll think, what would DC do? And like, oh, they would just take this thing and just da 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 da.
It's true. He'll be like, Klinkit, come here. Listen. See, I took that from Discocactus.
They would have done that. They would have done that.
Oh my god, I'm honored. I'm honored that we could have had that kind of
Pioneered it.
influence. Yeah. I guess one of the more recent ones that we have not performed yet is Ben started doing an arrangement of Green Greens from Kirby.
Oh yeah.
And like I think that's a great, just easy example of like a disco-cactusing way bump. Just keep going down as low as we can.
And then the middle said da 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 da
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Do you guys? Should we? I mean, so some people probably haven't seen a lot of Discocactus. Should we show another clip?
Sure, let's show another clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's show another clip.
Let's take a look at a clip.
Wait, that's the wrong one. That's the same clip. I have to press enter, and then it turns into a link because it's on a Word document. Okay, and now it is loaded.
Oh wow.
And then you press your button.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
You never see. You see that my mind is too fast for eyes. You're dying. How long time is it you last
Happy birthday.
I gotta get that fade out worked out for next time.
You know, it's kind of funny. Like, this is something that you'd expect to see in today's. You know, we're social distancing. We're trying. The musicians are figuring out what can we do. But like, this stream was like a year ago, wasn't it?
I watched it. I remember this.
Yeah.
One. This
it
one
was such
awesome.
a fantastic
Yeah.
stream where that
About a
performance
year,
was from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fun.
we gotta give big props to Alex Hill on tuba on that one who joined us, and that's something that we really wanted to start doing with those streams in particular, was to like bring in like friends to be like guest artists and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We had Dom Palambi join us as well for one of those.
We had my older
Drummer.
brother Max join us.
Yeah, that's right.
For that one. He was like, I don't really want to be on camera. He was just in the corner with a little Doomback drum.
Yeah.
He was having fun though. He
Yeah.
loved it. He loved it.
Yeah, we wanted to get like a whole series of people just to come down and play whenever they're, in town and can make
Yeah.
it and stuff like that. So
I'm just gonna plug real fast before we move on to the more of the Zeldathon show. We do have a link if any of you want to request a song. We're gonna have a couple opportunities for them to play some music for us. I think Tylenos has a link there. You can submit it. There's instructions on the form. Our musicians are requesting that you get a song that's on VG lead sheets, so the link's
that
there.
way we can like do
Play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can feel free to while we're going through adding your requests, and they might get played.
Oh yeah, there's Sexy Mallard in chat who is the cameraman in that last clip that we saw too.
Yep.
Thanks for your camera work.
Oh, I love when he runs up and like sees dirty dishes and just like shakes his head.
I remember that. I also remember I think it was the very last song. Everyone switched instruments.
Oh yeah.
That was a
I
lot of
forgot
fun.
about that.
But here's the thing: other people, you switch instruments and you can't do anything. But with you guys,
It still sounded good.
you still got experience so much in different of the other instruments that it's just you could pass it off.
We did one stream where we switched to instruments we can't play, and
Yeah.
we will not be doing that again.
That was yeah.
The last time we did it, we switched to auxiliary instruments that most of us can kind of play.
Mhm.
So Pete and I switched, and like you were playing piano.
And Ben was playing mallets.
Yeah. Nobody was playing violin.
Yeah, nobody else could play. Didn't you play violin on one of them?
Yeah, and everybody was like really impressed that I got a note out, and they were like, "Whoa!" It was like I took some lessons in college, and then just after that, the rest of the song was just that.
Well, you said you have been recording sound effects for VGM, so there you go.
That's true.
You know, I was kind of we were talking a little bit about it. How, you know, we're talking about how we got into Zeldathon and stuff, and you mentioned a little bit of how you guys started meeting, but I really am curious, how did you guys like all meet? What's your connections to each other in the beginnings, the origin stories?
I'm gonna start here because when I first started grad school at Yale University, I had to take a hearing class, which is like an ear training, like music theory hybrid class that everybody had to take, and Doug was my TA, and
I still am.
and we
I'll see you in class tomorrow morning.
we got to know each other a little bit over the next like 2 years. Like I remember we had played a couple gigs together. We jammed together a little bit in the recording studio in the basement.
Yep.
And all that, and but I didn't really get to know Doug until 2015. And I remember this. I had just gotten out of school. It was like the summer before I was starting a new job at a instrument museum. Was going to be my part-time job. I was at a bar, and I can't remember if you randomly showed up or if I invited you or something, and you showed up, and we were all talking and everything, and at one point you were like, "You're gonna stick around in town for a while, yeah?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "And you like video games?" I was like, "Yeah, we've talked about video game music and stuff before," and you're like, "We should hang out and play video games more." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." And then he invited me to be Discocactus, like maybe a month later.
Yeah.
And then I met Laura through. Actually, I guess through Doug.
Yeah.
But more so through Materia Collective.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember you messaged me out of the blue after I wrote a Materia Collective thing. You were like, "Hey, I really like one of your arrangements. Could you send me the saxophone part?" Because you were just learning saxophone.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." And then we started talking, and it's all history from there.
Wasn't there some duplicitous planning on your part?
I was
Oh,
kind
that was my end of the story, by the way. Doug has another end of the story.
I think like there was a point where like Sam was going to get his instrument fixed, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I was thinking like I guess I could like," or no, he was like, "I'm gonna go up to."
It got destroyed, right? At like a New York shop, it got like your instrument got like kind of wrecked or something.
No, it's that they fixed it. And
Something was
it just
wrong.
broke again.
Oh, I see.
So like you were gonna
In the
go
same way.
you were gonna go up to Boston, and I was like, you know, LauraIntravia is up in Boston. Why don't you go like message her and see if she wants to meet up? And you're like, huh, yeah. And then he did, and the rest was history. And it was all because of me. You have me to thank. You guys better remember this. I'm gonna lord this over you for the rest of your lives.
I remember you told me internally your thought was, Sam is a hilarious person.
Oh yeah.
Laura laughs at everything. This cannot possibly
It
go
is
wrong.
Perfect. It is perfect. Yeah.
You mentioned with Sam meeting Laura, you mentioned Materia Collective, and for the benefit of maybe some of those in the Zeldathon chat that might not know what a Materia Collective is, what's a Materia Collective?
Aha. Well, that is a video game music label that it was started a couple of years ago, and it actually didn't start that way. It actually started as like a community fan album project, and it was basically like a collection of different people like in or around the video game music industry, mostly around honestly, but a couple people who are actively involved. That got together to contribute to originally a Final Fantasy VII album, because that was when they announced the remake 5 years ago. That just came out today, or like not today, this month or whatever. So
Forgot about that.
yeah.
Golly.
So
That was a while ago.
Yeah, and I mean now that label has kind of bifurcated a bit. So now there is a label that they do a lot of like licensing and distribution of like video game music and soundtracks and stuff like that. But now there's also a community group as well that continues this tradition of putting together these big collaborative tribute albums. So like one of these albums might be sprawling. It could be like 100 tracks, or sometimes they're a little more curated than that. I did one like back in the beginning. I did an Undertale album with them that was like 103 tracks.
Out now on Bandcamp.
Yep, on Bandcamp, and Sam and Pete put one together from Majora's Mask. Discocactus member Ben did one called Menu, which was with Monica Wang, and that was an album of title screen themes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been that was like an interesting part of the origin story as well, I suppose, because everybody in Discocactus at some point got involved with one of those albums or like with some project there as well.
Yeah, and if you guys out there are looking for some more video game music to add to your discography, to music to listen to, Materia Collective just released a new album recently. What's it called? Buddies?
Buddies.
Yeah,
The Bear album and the Bird album.
Aw.
Each the Bear album's like one style of music. The Bird album, because
Oh,
it
I
was just
remember
like
you
an
talking
EDM
about-
type
yeah,
style of
yeah.
music and stuff. It's all
Oh,
music
that's
from
really cute.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm
Oh,
gonna.
before the do the fan questions, I do
Oh,
have one thing.
you have one
from
thing
a clip.
to show. All right, we got another clip.
Because I dug this one up because you mentioned when you guys met at Yale, and it reminds me also of how I actually met Doug. My first interaction was not at Yale, but it's somewhat related to this thing. The first time I actually Doug. The first time I remember actually directly talking to you was at the Materia Collective. Yeah, it's related to that too. Materia Collective Discord, and you had. I posted something bassoon thing I did maybe because I was trying to like spam my stuff to get more views as usual, and it's not hard. I only have like 3 videos up there anyway. So you mentioned something about like, oh, I went to Yale with the Breaking Winds bassoon quartet,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think this is actually one of Doug's. I forgot what year this was. One of Doug's first YouTube appearances.
I think it's 2012.
Oh my god.
Let's check this out.
Uh-oh.
Here's a clip.
Oh boy.
Oh my
Wrong
god.
button. Okay.
Wrong button. We're good.
I was like, it's like just that moment. They had me set up in the back. It was a Christmas medley of some
Pete,
sort.
what is happening?
And and then so that guy in the Christmas present costume, he was a bassoon player and he was playing a P-bone with a bassoon reed in it.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Such a
that
cool
was so
sound.
cool.
You get that low.
So was that a
cracking-
vocal? Was that like a vocal coming out of the trombone?
No, it was a bassoon reed buzzing.
But I mean, you
but,
gotta
like-
attach it somehow.
Well,
It was
was
because
the
it was
thing
like
where
he
it
was
goes
playing it like this
Oh.
way. It was weird. Maybe Danny Music knows.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, I have no idea how he did it.
you
What's
just
a
rig
P-bone,
something up.
actually?
I mean, you
Plastic
ever done that
Oh,
like
shoot.
in band, like mix up a clarinet
Oh,
and trumpet
yeah,
mouthpiece?
yeah.
You just kind of like use your hand to kind of make it. I always love like when you get like the reeds doing lower than they should. It's that creaking wooden sound, almost like a contra. Oh, it's delicious.
That's good.
Yeah, you should make sound effects.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh.
Actually, I have done some. I actually may have done vocoder. For a video game voiceover thing, I may have done vocoder like into bassoon, into speech, like
Whoa.
lower pitch octave. Okay, you know how you vocoder, you have like a modulation signal that affects the speech or whatever, and like I think I did like octaved down bassoon, like pitch shifted, and it was interesting. And to put that into speech for like a horror thing, it's interesting.
Laundry's ready.
So I'm gonna jump in and get one of our chat questions for you guys. So
Excellent.
OMG, it's Monica asks, Sam, Laura, and Doug, if Discocactus was named anything other than Discocactus, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That
Threat
is-
level midnight. Threat level midnight.
Did you guys hear that?
Repeat it for the chat.
Threat level midnight.
Honestly, if it were today, I feel like we would do some kind of a shout out to Hypnospace Outlaw. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
I think we would have gone with like Cool Punks or something like that.
Yeah. It would probably.
Granny Cream's hot butter ice cream.
There have been a number of times where I've seen like somebody has said something or like made some really like ridiculous comment like on a video or like during a Twitch stream. I'd be like, that's an album title right there. I feel like maybe one of those.
Discocactus.
Yeah,
Freezer, yeah, Pete.
Yeah, it probably. I could see us like referencing that, or maybe like one of the memes that has unwittingly like arisen from like one of our projects, like maybe something to do with Switch and the dock. Which
Oh yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Dock Switch.
Dock Switch.
Like
I kind of like Dock Switch.
that'd be kind of cool.
That's got a good ring to it.
Dire Dock Switch.
We've been rewatching some of Parks and Recreation lately. Actually, there's a new episode coming out in a few days.
Oh, no kidding? I need to watch that some more.
But we just passed one of the episodes where like Andy's going through like all his band name changes, like one after the other.
He was Mouse Rat at one point.
Many times, yeah.
All right, we have another question. Oh, we just got a bunch jump in. Okay, Ilya asks, what is your favorite instrument to play, and what is your favorite instrument to listen to?
Whoa, great question.
Well, I will answer. I do not like listening to bassoon that much. I don't listen to it very often.
I like when it plays, the characteristic Oompa
Okay,
Loompas,
yeah,
or
that's
like,
fun.
the grandfather in Peter. Like when it has those roles, I enjoy. I enjoy
It's a
bassoon.
good character.
That's like when you like an orchestra piece and it's got like a bass solo, but like the beginning of the third movement of Mahler 5 starts out with a bass playing like Frere Jacques in the minor key, and it's like that sounds nice, and then you listen to like a bass concerto and it's like that doesn't. I think is that like your favorite instrument to play like other than your own, or because like obviously my favorite instrument to play is the bass.
Well, which one? Do you like electric or double more?
Oh God, I don't know actually.
That's a good question.
Because I feel more at home on the upright, but I have more just like mess around fun on the electric. So it's like switching between my old house that I grew up in and the house that I moved to when I was 8, like switching between those two. Like one of them's like, that's my house, I know it, and the other one's like, well, that's also my house, and I also know it.
Yeah.
And I have different experiences in both.
Well,
So,
how about this for the answer? If your favorite instrument to play is your own instrument, then give us an instrument that is also not your instrument, not your main one, that you also really enjoy playing.
I grew up playing guitar, and I still, every once in a while, will noodle on it. I still love that.
Cool.
I like playing piano, too, but I'm not any good.
Oh, you can still like it, though.
I guess so. And I guess the instrument I like listening to the most is, like, I've been getting into a lot of, like, synth music, like a lot of, like, drony synth music, like the band Loskal, or is it Lossel? And what's some good examples are like Lossel, British Sea Power. They're more of a rock band though. And video game composers, more of like Disaster Piece and Fingerspit. I have been really getting into that stuff too.
My favorite instrument to play is actually the pipe organ, and I have like a myriad of reasons why I enjoy that more than what like that I would consider that my quadrary instrument.
Yeah.
But I really like keyboard instruments, like playing them in general, but particularly the organ. Like there's just this feeling of power when you press down the keys, and it just sounds so magnificent, even if you don't know how to play it and all you can play is like a C major chord or whatever. That is fun to do because it's just so big and so magnificent. And I love practicing organ and like learning how to use the pedals and stuff. Like there's just something really enjoyable about that. But a really close call is the iwi. Actually, I really have a lot of fun messing around on that. I think the reason I put organ above that is that like the iwi can bother my jaw after a little bit, and the organ I can just sit there like all day long playing it. So there's no like oh, this is gonna hurt after.
Yeah, say song number 3. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Give me that organ symphony. Yeah.
For anyone who,
I
was just gonna say, for anyone who doesn't know what the iwi is, can you just explain it really quickly?
Oh yeah, sure. It stands for electronic wind instrument. It's not plugged in, so I can't demonstrate, unfortunately. But it's a wind synthesizer, so it's a breath controller. It was like a key controller is a keyboard that you can patch any sound to. A wind controller responds to breath pressure and air pressure, so you can change like volume on the fly, like just the way you would with like a wind instrument. And they're super duper fun to play. They're really ridiculously hard because on the back, the way you control the octaves, like it's one set of fingerings for the whole thing. So like anybody can play this like for one octave. Like literally anybody that's played a recorder or a trumpet, it's literally just picking up your fingers one by one. And you can set it to any fingering, like on any instrument. You can set it to clarinet or oboe or whatever. But on the back, and this is really hard to see, these are all wheels that you're rolling between, and you have to control the speed with which you roll between the wheels to change octaves. And if you don't do it right, it does like that sort of an effect in between notes, and it's pretty distracting when it happens and sounds kind of weird. And so it's a heck of a tough time learning how to play this thing, but I just really love like being able to pitch bend all over the place and stuff like that.
I forgot you guys don't have video of us, but so I grabbed one just so they could see.
Oh yeah, I could see you. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, see those roller keys, like, I mean, bassoon has a lot of thumb keys, but I don't accidentally hit them as often as like whenever I try and mess around on iwi. It's just always these grace note octaves all the time.
Oh yeah, yep. It's like playing a bagpipe or something. But yeah, I think my favorite instrument to listen to is piano, like Breath of the Wild style piano. It's like really just nice and soft and atmospheric. I feel like that, like if I really did have to pick a type of music I could listen to all day long, I think it would be something like that, for sure.
When you play with all the pipe organ stuff, because you make posts on like Facebook and stuff every so often with them, and it's just really cool because like you always like comment a little bit like how, because you're running into different pipe organs with your job and seeing how they work, how they respond, how the room is. So there's always like a little bit of getting acquainted with it. So you'd always leave a little comment about how it was working as you play and stuff. I think that, I don't know, I just think it's so cool because like organs are just so unique, each one of them constructed and so fantastic. I know, right? So it's such a cool.
I totally agree. And like I specifically have kind of a weird job because I'm like a floating substitute at different churches. Like normally I would, just be playing at the one church and that's the one organ that I have. And it could be cool to really get your head around like the one instrument, and then you like start programming your own stops and stuff like that. But I love going to a different church and like, okay, let me figure out this one. What are the strengths and weaknesses on this instrument? Like, ooh, I could do a cover of this thing today because that'll sound, super magnificent or whatever. And yeah, it's really, I feel very lucky to have that kind of a job to just like be exploring new instruments all the time. It's too bad with the quarantine. I actually have a key to a church not far from here that the pastor was super, super kind. I had subbed there a bunch of times, and I asked if I could practice there sometimes when it was open during the week, and they actually just straight up gave me a key to the building so I could just let myself in at any time to practice, which was super duper generous of them. And I feel like it would be incredibly irresponsible of me, like even though the church is closed right now, to like go play their instrument and not be sanitizing the space as well as I could or something like that. Yeah. So I really miss playing organ. I haven't played it in like a month and a half, and it's a drag. So it's gonna be fun when I can cook up like a magnificent organ video the day I get to play organ again.
Okay, I'm really glad that I have my friends here to talk so much about their favorite instruments and stuff, so I had time to think about it.
You do have a lot of instruments.
It's a really tough question. I mean, my friend, the other Sam who plays bass, once said like he was like, percussion isn't really an instrument, it's more like a philosophy. And I was like, yeah, I like that.
That's cool.
But
what a weird dude.
Yeah.
I love him a lot, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine.
But yeah, like, I've got all these instruments in here that I play. I think when it comes to like the instrument that I feel most at home with and like most comfortable and at ease, I think it's probably the vibraphone. I really do. That's the instrument that I started playing first when I was like in high school and when I was getting into jazz. I was playing a ton of vibraphone, even though like the marimba is bigger and arguably more versatile because of like the extended range and that my technique is actually kind of better in some ways. I don't know. For some reason, I really just love improvising on vibraphone. Although I'm not really sure if that's my favorite instrument to play, and sometimes I think maybe my favorite instrument to play is actually my voice. Sometimes I think I prefer singing the most, just because like it feels good. I like the way it sounds to like bend pitches and have volume swell. You know, like I don't get to do that in percussion.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned singing. Here's a clip. Go ahead.
Oh boy. Oh no.
Oh, is it David? Oh, is it David?
Oh my god.
You should pull up the clip of him singing. Was that near?
No, it was Persona 5.
Oh yeah,
the
Persona
Velvet
5.
Room.
That's a keeper right there.
Yeah.
Which one?
There's a Persona 5, you know the Velvet Room?
Oh
like,
yeah.
You gotta play that one. It's so funny. It's so good.
Me
So,
and
okay.
her brother, my brother-in-law. Whenever he's over and playing it, like we just both were like.
Uh-oh, I think we lost it. Oh,
Oh,
no,
no,
there
there
it
it
is.
is. Yeah.
It's true.
It's true. It's true.
So, okay, to finish my answer. I mean, there you go. That was a great example of my singing. But I do as far as like instruments that I like listening to, I don't think it's percussion. And I actually think my favorite instrument to listen to is fretless bass. I actually think it is. In fact, I remember when you were like, I should get an electric, and I was like, you should get a fretless. That was definitely me trying to influence
when I was talking to my old bass teacher back in the fall, because I still do some work for my old teacher. I do arrangements for his orchestra, and I was talking. I had just wrapped up a project. I saw him at school. He still teaches at the school where I now work, and I saw him at a concert. We were talking a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to a retreat with my band Discocactus, and like I'm going to be playing actually all electric. I've been playing a lot of electric lately, a lot of fretless." And he was like, "Oh, that's nice." And I was like, "Yeah, actually, it's a lot of like the same like technique stuff on upright." And he goes, "Yeah, I know. You don't have to rationalize it." It's like, well, I mean, he didn't say that exactly, but
That was his
that was
sentiment.
the vibe. And then he goes, "You know, I think if I ever when I retire, I want to get an electric. I definitely want one, just for me. And I don't think it can have frets on it." And it was like, when I was thinking of buying a bass, I was feeling the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, it can't have frets. I won't be comfortable with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I
Yep,
hear you.
makes sense.
If it wasn't fretless bass for me, I think it would actually be bass clarinet.
Ooh, that's a great instrument.
I don't like the sound of clarinet that much. Like regular clarinet, you know, like when it says in the score, normal clarinet, bass clarinet.
That's what they write.
But bass clarinet, I just love the sound of it, especially pieces like David Lake's press release, like anything that jumps around in the instrument, I think is really cool.
Bring it back a little bit into Zeldathon. I'm just curious, what did you guys? I mean, some of you have only been to one, but we still have many more ahead of us in the future. What's like one of your favorite Zeldathon memories?
I liked doing the Wii Shop music. I thought that
Oh,
was really
yeah.
funny.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna mention sitting on the couch. I wasn't on the couch. Doesn't matter. I was on screen when Shadow Temple was playing through Majora's Mask. I just remember that being just a super fun experience. That was my first it was my first time on the couch where I felt like comfortable talking to everybody and stuff. That was and I when I had a rapport with some of the strangers around me. That was really nice, and that's also when that medley came up. So
That was really funny.
that was a good one.
Oh, wait, which medley?
That was a fun run too.
Which medley?
I think with the tribute to shop owners, the tribute to commercialism.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it was all the shop themes.
Yeah. Capitalism. Yeah. I think honestly, like it's kind of silly and maybe even selfish to say, but I think my favorite Zeldathon memory so far is playing Twilight Princess.
I'm so sorry we had to miss that.
I know, it was a bummer because like the schedule got way behind, and at first I was like, I want all Discocactus on the couch, and like you guys were gonna stay on the couch until you had to go and everything, and then, but the schedule got behind, and so I didn't actually get to start until like a few hours after you had already. Had to leave.
It was a bummer.
Yeah, but there was I had never done anything like that at Zeldathon. Yeah, you know, I had like sat around on the couch a bunch and like, you know, played music and stuff like that, but like I never had a game to myself, and you know, as a musician, you think that you're pretty accustomed to performing, but time and time again, in all the streaming settings, even like something like what we're doing right now, I'm always surprised with like how many ways one can perform and how surprising all those ways of performing are. And I had never performed for that long. That was a 12-hour run. Yeah. I never performed for 12 hours straight, right? That sounds crazy when you think of it that way.
Right.
But I was on camera for 12 hours, and I had never played a game for 12 hours straight. So there was also the experience of digesting all of Twilight Princess at once.
Yeah.
I had never experienced anything like that before. Yeah. But also just to like be there and like, you know, come out of like MC's like Great Breath of the Wild run and like riding that energy going into it. And,
the energy of that crazy thick train going on, huh?
Yeah, the thick train, yeah.
That was funny.
Oh my god,
the trains were great.
Why don't we watch a little bit of that?
Yeah, we got a clip of that train actually.
Here, you ready to push the button?
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I thought of another favorite memory.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love that, and yeah, and just like you know, going through the whole night. Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh, there it is. Look at all the C's. Oh, I'm getting my hair
There we are. Yeah, that was a pretty legendary train. I remember because like Doug, you had like your whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
And you had just started drawing. You were like, I'm gonna start drawing C's as we continue through the train. I was like,
yeah, like all right, guys, this train is. I would say this train's pretty big. You know what? I wouldn't even say it's big. I would say it's pretty thick. But how thick can we make this train?
And then I saw you with the whiteboard, and it just I was just like, this isn't visible enough. We need to make it more visible. So then
I leveled it up.
Yeah, I grabbed the paper and I was like, all right, every C is gonna be a new piece of paper. And I was like, I guess we'll tape it to the backdrop. And now it's like a thing we do. Like it evolved, and now we kind of repeat it now. We did it forces anyway. Like just tape train stuff to the backdrop. It all
that was so much fun.
Stemmed from your
one of my other favorite memories was Sam and I were actually in the break room, and there was a not a betting pool, but a donation pool for what we're gonna name Doug's horse when he plays Twilight Princess, and like it was like something random was like way in the lead, and Mewtwo was like way at the bottom, and Sam and I just agreed that we were going to we wanted to do a big lump sum donation like during the thing, and we were like, there's never been a more fine time to donate some money to Zelda.
Yeah, we were kind of waiting the whole time.
And so we like dropped like $500 right then and there, and we were watching from the other room to see like, you know, the big treasure chest fill, and Doug was like, oh, that's a big one! He was like watching during somebody else's game. Yeah. And then they opened it and it was like Flute Link, and it was from YouTube, and Doug's jaw just dropped. And that skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you named the horse in your private game something really funny? This boy or something like that.
That boy, yeah. That boy. I'm gonna go clean that boy.
and I remember when the horse came back after not seeing it for like a little while. It was just like, oh look, that boy. And Laura was just like, is that what they just call it? She wasn't there for the original naming of it. That was so funny.
You named the names. I was like, how does it know? How did you do that? I think there's a clip of that somewhere.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
And that spawned some pretty fantastic, because you were Nose Pass.
I got Nose Pass to be Link's name.
And,
Nose Pass.
You two with the horse. So all the fan art of
like 6 alone drew some wonderful.
Are you sure you want to cut all of your hair?
Yep. But yeah, that was also great. Honestly, getting my hair cut, man, that was like, it had been 2 or 3 years since my last haircut.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big moment for me. That was not just like, oh, I'm gonna just like, just get a haircut. It'll be funny for the lols, it's random. No. That was a big deal, and I had really thought about it before going into that. And so, yeah, that was a very meaningful moment. I don't think I'm ever gonna get a haircut anywhere but Zeldathon ever again.
Well, I mean, it might be a while too nowadays.
I know. I need my haircut.
You donated to what was the name of the
Children with Hair Loss.
Yeah,
was the charity.
It's a
I donated
certificate
to.
on the fridge now, right?
Yeah, I put it on the fridge.
That's where we put all of our awards.
Yeah.
Oh. So, I guess, keeping with the Zelda theme, what is your favorite Zelda game?
Oh boy.
I have 2 answers because there's the nostalgia brain answer,
Yeah.
and that's like in my mind my favorite Zelda game, which is Majora's Mask. My actual favorite Zelda game is Breath of the Wild.
I have a similar answer. It must be Ocarina of Time because that was just like so like life changing to me as a kid. That was when I really started noticing video game music, and it was just the world. I can remember like just how I felt so vividly. Like I love Majora's Mask too, and that's like a super close second. But like I can remember the sensation of going to a new area in Ocarina of Time, like when I got to the desert for the first time for like the Spirit Temple and everything, and like I just felt like I was in the place in a way that I couldn't like had never felt before. It's like that vivid experience when you're a kid. But Breath of the Wild did that again for me as an adult. And that is just my favorite game now for sure.
Triforce Heroes. No. I actually haven't played Triforce Heroes. We should. There are 3 of us.
Oh my gosh.
That would be fun. We'll have
It's meant to be.
Yeah. Maybe we could. Okay, so. Gears. Danny, I did play Triforce
Remember, your
Heroes.
head fell off.
I played with Bassoonify.
Yeah, you and Carlos.
That's right, of course. No, I think okay, I have a similar answer. In fact, I think we're all kind of on the same page here because there are 2 answers to that question. Nostalgically, what is your favorite Zelda game? And like objectively, like when we put on our big thinking brains, what is it? And when I put on my big thinking brain, yeah, I think just like Breath of the Wild is probably objectively the best Zelda game I've ever played. But like, also you have to bear in mind, like, man, they had a lot of like memory storage on the console. They could like more like the better graphics processing. There's all sorts of reasons why that game had an unfair advantage over like Link's Awakening.
Right. Yeah.
But Link's Awakening is nostalgically my favorite Zelda game. I played that game. And this is actually kind of a touching story. That was a gift to me from some family friends. They got me a Game Boy when I was like 7 because my family was about to fly to Chile, South America, to adopt my sister.
Oh wow.
And our family friends knew that we were going to get on a plane for like forever.
Yeah.
And they were like, this kid has the shortest attention span and is incredibly hyper, and he's going to drive his parents crazy. So let's get him a Game Boy. So he doesn't do. So they basically got me a Game Boy, and they got me a Link's Awakening for the sanity of my parents more than anything else.
That's so cute.
But yeah, I played the crap out of that game, and I fondly remember lying to my mother when she would say.
You heard it here first, folks.
When she would say, "Stop. Okay, time to stop playing video games. Put the Game Boy away." And I would say, "Okay, let me get to a save point." There were no save points.
I know, right?
I could
We've all played
save
that
whenever I
tactic.
wanted, and I told them I have to get to a save point.
What a dastardly move.
Oh yeah, I was a smart kid, a 7-year-old Doug. Yeah, to go to a save point. but yeah, no, really like when Breath of the Wild came out, though, and I played that, that's one of those games that I wish I could just live in that game. You know, I wish I could just live there. And the great thing about that game was it was kind of designed to. You really could just live there for as long as you wanted until you beat the game. And it's, of course, I don't think any of us would tell you it's a perfect game. In fact, we would definitely tell you it's not a perfect game.
Yeah.
But as far as Zelda games go, it's just one of like the best game playing experiences I've had.
Yeah,
I was about to bring that up too. That like the difference for me is the gameplay. Like Breath of the Wild is a game that I can put down for a little while and pick back up and start all over again and just like have fun with exploring and coming up with new things to do, and fighting is always fun, but like Ocarina of Time, Link's Awakening, Majora's Mask, those are the games that I'm like, this was more of a complete, like important life experience for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
I think about like the games that I had as a kid, and because I didn't have you don't usually have a lot of games. Like sometimes you only have like 1 or 2 games for your console when you first get it, and you play the crap out of it before your parents will get you one for Christmas or the next year, who knows. And like with those games, you really get to know that world, and it becomes like a big part of your childhood. And I know that there's probably some kids out there that are really young that like live in Breath of the Wild because maybe that's their only game they have, and like they're gonna become this streaming age one day, and they're just gonna have so many things to talk about and so many memories with it. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see, because we have our nostalgic games that we've lived in, like, and these games that are out now are the ones that are gonna be that for the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your what have you played the new Link's Awakening yet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you loved it, right?
I absolutely loved it. I thought that, like, you know, a lot of people like were like critical of the art style and stuff like that at first, and like
I thought it was so cute.
it was super cute. And look, let's be real, gamers being critical of art style is like a Zelda trope. It will always exist. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, I sure do, when Wind Waker came out.
Oh yeah, everyone hated
yeah,
it.
people
No
were
one
really
remembers
upset
that.
about
Yeah.
I do remember that.
I can't believe Zelda made a kiddie game for kids. These guys, come on, you guys.
What happened to my gritty Zelda game? Like, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and so like I loved the new style, and I thought the remake did a great job of taking that game and letting me play it for the first time again. You know, everything I loved about the original game was there, but there was enough like new fresh life that had been breathed into it that I really felt like I was just doing it again.
Sigma, more like Zelda,
Nice.
am I right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
yeah, it was like, but yeah, so I love the remake.
You know, the art style was very, like, when I first saw it, I was like, looks like the Rankin Bass, like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like, how are they gonna pull this off? And, like, and then I thought about Wind Waker, and I was like, well, you know, that stood the test of time, so maybe this will,
Yeah.
you know, but maybe just shut my mouth and see how it is. And it was a cool game.
Yeah.
Right.
Music.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. What about playing? You guys feel like playing some of the requests?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do some music. All right, so I'm looking over here. I see 7 a.m. from Animal Crossing in the list. I see.
Oh yeah, Animal Crossing is very popular right now.
I see some Kingdom Hearts 2 in there as well. You know, I don't know that Animal Crossing 2. That's a pretty chill one. You wanna
let's
give
do
that
that.
a go?
Yeah.
This is 7 a.m. from Animal Crossing. It's requested
7
by
a.m.?
Sigma Beta.
When was the last time I got up at 7 a.m.?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard. I don't think I've ever heard Animal Crossing music in game at 7 a.m.
What letter does Animal Crossing start with?
A. Oh my God.
How fast is it?
94 beats per minute.
Go to your room. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we could do chill like. We could probably play it around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's DC Al Coda, which stands for Discocactus. Al Coda. Or DCL beginning, whatever. It's not. There's no coda. Whatever. Screw it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, Sigma caught it. Great. I put a little bit of the new game.
Oh,
thing in there.
really? That's funny.
I'm glad to see that.
That was awesome.
Wild in general. So
I
it was
felt
just
really
just-
rusty.
it was just like, yeah, that's right. That wasn't. It's great.
You want to check question?
Oh, questions?
Let's
Sure.
see if we got another question in here.
No, a few, but
Okay, so one question from Danny Music. What's your favorite soundtrack to a video game that has come out in the last 5 years?
Ooh, that's an easy one. Bubsy 3D.
I guess that did come out in the last 5 years.
I guess that is technically an answer.
But actually, that is a really easy one for me. It's Hyperlink Drifter.
Yeah.
That one is just like a complete masterpiece to me.
Yeah.
Totally. Now I gotta think of a different one.
I was.
Sonic Mania.
Oh. Oh man, this is really.
You don't have to come up with a different one.
No, I love both of those. Yeah, I mean, I think I might have to agree with Sam about. Wait a minute. It's been 5 years. It's 5 years as of September.
Is it Undertale?
It's Undertale.
Yeah.
But Hyperlight Drifter would be my
Hyperlight
answer.
Drifter
You
is
know,
definitely way
but like,
up there, yeah.
but Sonic Mania would also be another one too. Sonic Mania soundtrack was stellar.
Oh, Cuphead!
Oh,
That
yeah.
is absolutely my favorite one.
Yeah.
Cuphead for sure.
Okay, so, I mean, so we got a bunch there. We got between the three of us, we have 4 favorites.
We all like the same music. But I like
Yeah.
how that covers such a huge variety. Like, Hyperlight Drifter is so synth heavy, but like in that like 16-bit crush
Yeah.
style.
And like not without melody, but like very like
atmospheric.
atmospheric and like what's the word I'm looking for?
Ambient?
Ambient.
Yeah, totally.
And like think of the complete opposite with Cuphead. With,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The like wild like very rhythmic and very melodic and like
Yeah.
super like traditional.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sonic Mania, which is
Like dance music. It's
dance music. It's super traditional in the video game music. sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, one of the things that is really successful about the Sonic Mania music, and that you might not think about, is the music from the original levels, like the original Green Hill Zone
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
that you hear, the original Flying Battery. Like, that's not ripped from the game, like the original games. That should be clear. Like,
Right.
that's not just like, oh, they took the track out of Sonic 1 and put it. No, T like remade all of that.
Oh yeah, and it sounds like you would remember it sounding.
Yes. Yeah, that's like a huge like accomplishment as far as game
I
music
think
goes.
Roger said that, didn't he?
Yep.
That, like,
Yep.
what made that soundtrack so successful is that it made you feel the way you did back then listening to to it when
Yes.
it came out in
Right.
1991.
I do remember him saying that. Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, Levi just mentioned a bunch of Tropical Freeze is another favorite, and Mario Kart 8. But yeah, I think these are my top ones. But those are
Yeah.
great soundtracks too. Like it was.
One
Man.
of the other things I love about Hyper Light Drifter 2, to add to what Sam was saying, is that it used intensity of sound as a parameter to deliver energy. So like
Yeah.
you get to a boss fight, and normally in most games you get to the boss fight, it's like you know, it's like there's all this like rhythm and all this speed. And like I remember getting to the last general
Yes.
in the West,
Yeah.
and you just get this like big, heavy, almost. Yeah, it was
It's an
almost like
opera,
like an aria,
But
exactly.
it's super slow.
Yeah.
And you don't even notice it.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
but it is intense, and it's the density of the sound that's
Yeah.
coming from this.
Yeah,
It's like-
Hyper Light Drifter did dance really well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
It's not so much that you don't notice it, but like
yeah,
it's more that you don't like cognize it. You don't really pick
Yeah.
up on it. It doesn't matter. You know?
yeah.
And then there's like one theme that actually does that,
Yeah.
and that like stands out
Right.
way
Yeah.
above the others as for that reason.
I'm gonna throw one more on the pile. Abzu, I thought was a remarkable game
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Really
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah.
also really liked the Banner Saga soundtracks. 2 and 3 came out in the last 5 years. Banner Saga 1 did not. That came out 2014.
Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was another good one.
Persona
I don't think that was in
5?
the last 5 years.
Is
Actually.
that?
Yeah.
It
Persona
wasn't.
5 is
It was
5 years? I think
2013
so.
or 14,
Right.
right?
Yeah, lots of great choices. I think it like really exemplifies us that like our favorites are just all over the map. Like,
Yeah, Totally.
Yeah, we
oh yeah, Hollow Knight. I forgot about Hollow
Oh,
Knight.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Hypnospace Outlaw.
Yeah. I honestly.
In a different way.
And for the same, it's like the Hypnospace Outlaw soundtrack is huge, and like some of it is actual music from bands, and others are just like in-game music, and they're just like silly little MIDI ditties that were
Yeah.
Tuba
written,
Buffet.
written to like sound like they're kind of bad and cheesy and stupid, but they fit the game really well, so that's a successful soundtrack.
Yeah,
you know?
it was so perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah,
Odyssey
there
was
were
fun.
lots of great soundtracks.
Odyssey's great. I had another one.
Well, while you're thinking about it, I can add like,
Sure.
like Undertale is in there for me, not just because like the music's catchy and fun and stuff like that, but like, yeah, I know, right, Sigma. No, like I think Undertale definitely deserves honorable mention, at least just for the fact that like, and I'm gonna present on this in my video game class. That soundtrack is made using a lot of free samples, like a lot of free technology, and you can still create a really great score with like not the best studios,
Yeah.
you know, not the best
Right.
gear, you know. And it was super diverse and super comprehensive, and it also had a great sense of humor, which is something that we really value,
Right.
you know.
Totally.
It shows you where we are in video game music now in general.
Yeah.
Where you have that, you have people but using free samples. You have people using MIDI. You have people remixing old soundtracks with updated software, and you've got people like Austin Wintory who are doing like
Classical,
Jerry Goldsmith style soundtracks.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like all over the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sigma, remember that time we had one favorite each, and now we're up to 20 games.
Sorry.
Next
Yeah, that's what we
question
get.
before we get stuck.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to check your request list?
Yeah, play
Sure,
another
yeah, let's play another one.
Please
see
feel
what's over
free
here.
to play as much music as you like.
We got
There's a new Breath of the Wild one up there.
Ooh.
Ooh, you want to do a little cast?
Yeah, let's do it.
Mm.
Okay. Let's get a little cast going.
Do I need the lead sheet for this one?
I don't.
No.
Anyway, let me I know, I was trying to play it on alto. Oops, sorry.
How do you do this? There's just like so much air.
It's exhausting.
Gosh.
It's sort of like committing to the fact that you're gonna feel a little bit dizzy.
Yeah.
And like being okay with it.
So I have a question from Autumnal Blake. Autumnal Blake saying, "What was the most fun performance you've been a part of?"
Magfest.
Magfest.
Easy question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. And I think like, you know, we have a lot of fun whenever we perform, but there are a few like things that really came together in that show that I think really added to this. In spite of some of the things that could have easily made it not the most fun performance ever. Like it was scary.
We were up against the wall on that one. Like
We were the first band to go that day, and there was like there was like this huge delay for whatever reason.
Yeah.
like
and,
hour and a half.
Yeah,
long.
and we were
getting pretty antsy behind stage too.
Yeah, we were really worried.
Backstage, behind stage. That industry term.
Yeah. No, we were really worried about like not being able to like you know get on time and like not have a sound check and like there were so
Which
many
we
things.
didn't.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't.
Neither
really.
of those things.
Yeah.
We really did not get a proper sound check at all, and we had
Yeah.
a lot of technical problems on stage where we couldn't
Even,
hear
like,
each other and stuff.
They
so.
just like started the timer, and they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, you guys are playing, go." And it's just like,
Yeah.
is the line check even done? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it,
crazy.
it was not.
But that being said, there were a lot of things that really made that show great. First of all, like when we play live shows around here, you know, one of the things that is a lot different is the fact that like if we go to like a bar or something like that, like a local place to play a show, we'll have a couple of our friends come, maybe a few local folks who definitely want to come see Discocactus. But for the most part, we're kind of just playing for whoever's at the bar.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, we get like a few people out in the crowd who really like are having a great time and giving us their energy, and that's kind of it. When you play a place like Magfest, everyone there is all about the music. They're all about the experience. They are all about the music, that the repertoire that you're playing. Like, everybody's on your team.
Yeah.
And like, to see, especially in that concert, we really had a lot of people come and to like look out into the crowd and just hear the cheering and see everybody
so
out
many
there.
friends.
And
Like,
you just feed off that energy of like these guys are all on our team, you know?
yeah.
We're all in this together.
They were
And-
such good sports too. Like they were cheering us on when we were doing our live sound
Yeah,
check
yeah.
and singing with us and stuff.
Yeah, and then on top of that, to like be able to have our friends join us on stage, we had a number of guests, including Bassoonify,
Yeah.
who joined us for our Hollow Knight arrangement.
That was one of the
Such
people
a
said
good
that was one of their
arrangement. Oh
favorite
my
parts
gosh.
of the whole show.
Oh
too.
yeah. So to have that was so great, and then like also just like all the time leading up to it, we really put a lot of preparation into that show. We worked on the arrangements for that show. We worked on that very far in advance. Actually, the beginning of that show happened the summer prior to it at Avaloc, when we started coming up with our set and started arranging the music there basically for the first time.
Right.
That's where we started coming up with Hollow Knight. That's where we started coming up with the Deltarune
Deltarune,
segment
yeah.
that we did, you know.
Yeah, we kept like we had a bunch of rehearsals leading up to the show. And we were constantly like playing through stuff, changing it, like being like, you know, I think we all agree that we need to take out this 8 bars here. Like it
Yeah.
just like made the show so much stronger for that reason. Like I think for me, like the moment I realized, like, cause like we were all like super hyped up, and I was in like epic performance mode while we were on
Yeah.
stage. It was this high energy, and once like the beat like dropped in Fields of Hopes and Dreams
Oh
in
my
Deltarune,
God.
that was when I realized I was like, oh my God, like we are so locked in, and this
Yeah.
is just fun.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
to panic about anything or
Yeah.
like think about performing. I'm just
Right.
having such a great time.
Yeah.
Despite what part of what made that show possible because of all of the mishaps that happened was the fact that we had it together.
Oh yeah,
You know, and
if we hadn't
that's what
rehearsed,
made
yeah.
it feel. So like, what really made it feel real was the work that we all put in and the moment that we were all in together. It wasn't like being a big rock star on stage, because we didn't feel that way because it didn't sound like it
Right.
from stage. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, do you have a favorite? I'm curious. Do you guys have a favorite moment in your like classical music careers, performance-wise?
Oh man, that's a great question. Yeah, I think I do, actually. I think I do. I think that moment was playing Steve Reich's sextet at Pasek, I think, might have been it. Because it's a really hard chamber piece. I learned it when I was in grad school. We all like memorized it and everything. Like, it was a huge part of my life back then. And to come back to that piece, and I played at a big percussion convention, which is like Magfest for percussionists, basically. And there were like a couple thousand people out in the audience listening. And the part of the piece that I played in particular, actually no, I played the whole thing. That's right. I played the entire piece. It's a 45-minute long piece. And the end of it is like this really big rush. It's like the tempo goes up like crazy. It's super rhythmic. It's super exciting. And the whole piece ends like we're all playing way up in like the highest parts of our instrument, like all the way at the top. And I just remember like getting through that experience, or getting through that piece, and like just inhaling afterwards, like, oh, that was it. Oh my God. And like, once again, we're playing for an audience full of like percussionists. They're all like other like musicians, you know? It's not a rock show, but we kind of got that response, you know?
Right.
And that was like, okay, maybe this can happen here too.
That's cool.
You know? Yeah. So I think for me, that was it.
I'm like struggling to think, because like a lot of what I ended up doing like right after graduating college was doing like video game music. So, like this isn't really technically like classical music performance, but the Colorado Symphony show at Red Rocks with Video Games Live was absolutely like my favorite performance, like with an orchestra, like in a classical setting that I had ever done. Even though it was all video game music, but it was just like such a special night with like a big old orchestra and like a summer amphitheater. Like that one sticks out to me as like some of my finest performing, and also like just like a really, really great time. But like for purely classical music, I think it would have to be, my friend Omar wrote an opera last year, and he had written the role, like not necessarily with me in mind, but like he told me he was thinking about my voice when he wrote it, and so like a lot of it felt really, good in my instrument when I was singing. It was definitely written for my kind of voice. And it was really, really fun to originate a role for sure, and like I got to interpret it how I wanted and do everything with it. That was super duper fun. And before that, I think it's a tie between that and when I originated a different role in another like new opera that was being premiered, and I was playing two boy roles that were two separate characters, and get into that. Yeah, I think that one is my favorite because I got to get into like the physical space of like what like a young boy's movement and stuff like that, and it was a big moment for me like as a performer to like find like physicality and stuff like that because that was something I had struggled with in school, and I felt like I was finding some like confidence in my ability to be an actor. Like I remember the first opera I ever did outside of school. I hadn't done opera in years since I had graduated, and I just kept waiting for the director to tell me what to do, and like a lot of it is actually you just trying stuff out, and then the director will tell you if you got it wrong or if they need to like push you in a different direction. So it's not like you just stand there with no character until they tell you what character you're supposed to be. So that opera, the new one that I was premiering, like that was when I really felt like I was getting it, and I got to play like these really, really challenging roles and do stuff like that. So that's my favorite one.
Did you answer, Sam?
A whole bunch rushed to mind because like I have a couple like favorite orchestra concerts that I played in because like anytime I play one of my favorite pieces of classical music, they're like my favorite concerts. Like my senior year at Rutgers, I played Rite of Spring, and I almost memorized.
Oh
it,
wow!
And just like it was just so much fun. I mean, I didn't, but like, I loved that. Like, there's a whole we did a whole bunch of concerts at Yale that were super memorable too.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like solo recitals, and I like one of my big ones at Rutgers was playing a solo concerto with an orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
That was, but like, I don't call it my favorite because it was like kind of harrowing at the same time of being really cool, and like I actually did feel like I was in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had to pick probably, I'm trying to think of. Okay, I have them. I have two. My Rutgers one is I was preparing for my senior recital, and I was getting ready to perform this like new this piece that was written like in the 90s for bass, and it was like kind of like an art piece, but also like a rock piece. Like he did it with a lot of like rock and metal stuff in mind, and like a lot of electric bass players in mind. And a friend of mine who I worked with at the cafe I worked at the time was having a house party, and it was like an open mic thing, and she was like, "You should come," and I was and play some of your music. I was like, "I actually am preparing a recital piece with my upright bass. Does that sound cool?" And she was like, "Yeah, whatever, I don't care." And I lugged it over. It was a bad idea because I like lugged it over in the winter. My bass over in the winter, and it was like not good. But I remember playing it for an audience of like people who would never ever seek that music out, and like for people who like were listening to like indie original music, like solo guitar, piano the entire night, and singers. And I played through my recital thing, not too great, but like I remember just having a lot of fun with that experience, and like I really felt like I was like presenting something new, and I really loved it. It was great.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
My second one is a Yale one, which is when I was principal bass in the orchestra for when John Adams was in town, and he was conducting the orchestra.
Yeah.
And we also went to New York. And we did an original piece of his that was for solo string quintet or solo string quartet and orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment in the very beginning where it's just the solo string quartet doing their own thing, and a solo bass plucking a little bass line. And I remember that was a lot of fun. And in the first rehearsal, John Adams was like, like at the beginning here, make sure you listen to the bass player. He's really in time. And I was like, another not good performance, but a fun story was that the second performance we were in New York performing at what is now David Geffen Hall, and I had to pee really bad. And right before,
Did you pee on stage?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
We started with Stravinsky's Orpheus,
Oh, no.
which is like a 20-minute piece.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I was like, I really have to pee. And like, the next piece starts. The next piece is like 40 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I really have to pee. I shouldn't have had soup for lunch. And I'm just like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna pee on stage. I was like, I was like, maybe I'll just pee and no one will notice, and then I'll just play, you know. And what happened was, we get to the point where it's my solo at the beginning. This is the first thing I play, and I'm like, oh god, it's gonna all come out. I'm gonna pee, and I start, and as soon as I pluck the first note, I didn't think about it anymore, and I didn't have to pee anymore.
Did you ever pee again? Or was that it?
No, I've never peed since. No, I peed at the intermission. Like the entire rest of the 40 minutes, I was just like, I had forgotten I completely forgotten that I had to pee.
Maybe I can just pee and no one will know.
Just behind the instrument, you know.
Player's leaking. Oh my god, I had to laugh so hard that no sound could come out. Oh my god. Next question.
Yeah, what was the
And
question?
that's why it's called a piece of music. We've been going for almost 2 hours at the Zeldathon show.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you guys would be down with doing one more request
one more
from your
request.
stream.
Yeah, let's do it. What else
I'll
we
do
got
one
on the
more
list?
song.
Cool.
I'm gonna have this up for reference, but I don't think I need it.
Oh no, I need it.
All
I
right.
definitely need it.
I do too.
We're gonna do Wii Shop channel.
Are you gonna play drums on it?
Do you want me to?
I think you have to. I don't think it's gonna work otherwise.
Okay.
I do. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because there's like the 2 blank bars at the beginning.
Yeah, but he plays the chords.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's
Oh,
do
yeah.
it. All right. Ready?
Okay, yep.
No. Give me a second. Where is it? What's it under? Just
It's
tell
under
me.
Wii.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It's under
Yeah.
P.
It's under Wii.
It's under Wii, which stands for P.
Okay. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Oh, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3.
Classic Discocactus, or
Classic.
classically informed.
That's the Discocactus outro.
That's the maneuver, yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Bruno.
Wow, Doug, you're great singing.
Well, thank you so much for playing and talking with us today.
Thanks
my
for having
gosh,
us. This
yeah.
is really super
Thanks
fun.
for letting us talk.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the
What
great thing about
happens?
having you guys is just like, you know, the discussion of it all.
Yeah.
It's like we don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
Easy.
This
It's
is
funny.
great.
We did an interview at Magfest, and like the guy interviewing us, he was very nice. He was like, "Okay, I'm probably just gonna do like 10, maybe 15 minutes max," and we just kept talking and talking. He probably got through like 3 questions, and we were like, "All right, what's next?" And he's like, "I think that's it."
We kept just
Okay.
grabbing the microphone from each other and be
Yeah.
like, and I have one more point to add.
It doesn't
Yeah.
help that like there were 9 of us.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
big boys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, before we, end, and where can the viewers find you, these days?
At discocactusmusic.com.
And
make
on
sure
Twitter.
to make sure to sign up for our mailing list for all the for all of our updates that are coming up, our SoundCloud page is on there, which has a bunch of like little snippets of some of our live shows. We're on Twitter at disco_cactus. We are on Bandcamp at Discocactus VGM. I think so because that's also our SoundCloud page, which is Discocactus VGM.
Yeah.
And if you look us up on YouTube, we do have a couple videos on YouTube, but we also have our previous Magfest performances on YouTube. And our last one was pretty good. So look up Magfest 2020.
We're also on Facebook, and we usually put up events there when we're gonna do a live stream concert. Which, like, obviously, like right now, it's gonna be a little bit before we can get the whole band together again. But if you want it, like either the mailing list or the Facebook group is where we post when we're gonna do live streams and stuff. So
and it's also the best way to keep up because we are going to, in the near future,
go on tour to your house.
Well, actually, that's not out of the question.
We have been talking about that.
But we're working on an album right now.
Yep.
In spite of everything, we're working on it.
Yeah,
So.
plans have gotten a little. We had to rethink some things, but this summer is the plan. So hopefully we'll have something to show soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow our mailing list for updates.
Yeah.
And then outside Discocactus, you know, I know sometimes we can find you guys outside the Discocactus title under, you know, maybe other Twitch stream. You want to tell them where they can find you for that?
Yep, absolutely. So I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/DrumUltimA, and you can find me on Mondays and Thursdays playing all the instruments that you see in here, the Marimba Monday and Marimba Thursday. And you can find me there. And Sam actually has also started streaming recently.
Yeah,
more.
I am Slam Bob on Twitch. That's Slam Bob with a 0 instead of an O.
He's cool.
I'm planning on doing bass streams. I've done a couple, but mostly lately I've been streaming indie games. It's super fun. And I'm also on Twitter at SlamBob with a 0. Keep an eye out for sambabinskybass.com, which is going to be coming up eventually. Whenever I finish working on it.
We gotta do our Discocactus
Yeah.
website too.
Yeah.
Also, I will say that you can find the two of them on my stream often as well. Wednesday nights we normally get together to play a game. So,
Yeah, totally.
And Laura's going to start streaming.
Yep, any day now. Once I work up the nerve to learn the technology, I will be doing Dark Souls 3 where all of my characters are Zelda characters, but repurposed for the purposes of Dark Souls 3. But yeah, you can find me on. I have a Facebook fan page, but honestly, I update Twitter more often. So just look for me on Twitter. It's just my name. It's just LauraIntravia, one word. And I have my own website if you want to check out some of my clips of like work I've done on video games and stuff like that. But otherwise, I'm usually hanging out in Doug's Discord, so that's a good place to find all three of us at once.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Follow me on Twitter.
I'm also on Twitter.
I'm also on Instagram if you want my organ videos and stuff. I put those up on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, Zeldathon.
Yeah, so we have coming up next for Zeldathon, we have Zeldathon Side Quest, which is going to be our first, well, I think what most of us consider the first all-online marathon for Zeldathon. And that's going to be beginning June 5th. It's going to be 96 hours. We might have some musical performances in there similar to maybe what you saw tonight. We'll see. So if you're so make sure you're following Zeldathon. There's all the social media is on the screen. Which way do I point? That way. There we go. Right there. Make sure you follow that so you can get all the updates on Zeldathon going live and all of our, any, I don't know what we're doing for prizes and stuff, but whatever we have, you can find all the information on there.
Autumnal Blake, you can find a Discord link over on my Twitch channel. If you go to twitch.tv/DrumUltimA, that's how you can find the Discord that we were talking about.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much again for hanging out with us tonight. And thanks you
for
everyone
having
in
us.
chat.
This is great. Good to see you guys.
I know.
We miss everybody.
Miss you.
Oh, big hug.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Air hug. All right, and with that, I guess we'll send it out. See you later, guys, and thank you.
Do we raid? What do we do?
We don't have the ability to raid.
We don't have the ability to raid.
But some Zeldathoners, Shadow Temple, Jiggy11, Lyric of Wisdom. There's several Zeldathoners right now who are live.
Even Monostash.
Monostash, yeah. So Find we can't raid, but find one of them and go give them a watch.
Choose your own adventure from here on out.
Yes.
Take the day by the horns and follow it and lead it to your destiny.
All right. Without further ado. All right. Goodbye. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Goodbye.